he don't even talk. He said, he pointed that cell to me, where Keba Sise is. And I went, I met the condition he made. I used to call him Nakeba. The sardine he thought is tea. He don't talk to me. Then I asked one of the inmates, one of the detainees there, what's happened? They said, yes, last night Sana Sabali and others came here. They took about 3 of their colleagues and they executed them. I said, what? They said there was a firing. So, and they said they are coming back. Next, their next trip will be some of the detainees. So this made their condition so deteriorated, especially Keba Sise. And then later they appointed another guy, Samsidin Sar. So for when I was Keba Sise, as I said, I used to call him Keba. So I look at his condition. I have to take some risk at that time. I went to number 1 confinement, security, where Chongan, and after dressing them, then I spoke to one of the prison officers there. It's my senior, though, Suso. I said, Suso, I need a favor. Either we have to take a risk to help me for my job to be easy. That can you take one of these people out and let them, I know number 7. There's a place we call number 7. Let him stand on that door, and on that gate, then I bring out Keba Sise to flash just to see that this man is alive. That was my own operation, which God helped me, we were successful on that. Then from there, Keba Sise tried to nod 3 times before he come back to his senses. In those days, I used to smoke. I gave him a cigarette. He started smoking. He hold my hand, and then we went to his cell. I said, you can eat now. You can witness it now. But I want to do the same thing to this guy, Sam Sidisar, which by then other guards come in. Then I stop because I don't want to be involved.
Can you tell us the nature of the risk that you were taking by your actions in bringing out prisoners out of solitary confinement?
That was a high risk to me, because if I was caught, I'll join them. But sometimes we have to take those risks for humanity, because at that time, that old man, we can lose him.
After you took that risk of taking him out and actually showing him that those suspected detainees who had been executed were still alive, did you notice anything about his condition, about Keba Sise's condition?
Yeah, especially the following day, where he even shouted my name. He too called me Nadino. Come. He advised me the job that I'm doing, let me continue with that. Because no condition is permanent. I can remember he told me that. Even I die here, just continue with your good job that you are doing.
Are you saying that he showed remarkable improvement after your actions?
Yes. It has even reflect to before this other guy, how to call it, Captain Sar. It took for him, it took time until these people have to come and join them. Because he don't see it, he cannot believe it. Keba's explanation alone is not enough to him. And his colleagues too tried, because they always try to cancel him.
Can you tell us what was actually wrong with Samsidin Sar?
The same thing, he has a psychological trouble, because he thought when they come next, maybe it could be his turn. So that's make him a little bit confused at that time. He don't eat, he don't want to talk to anybody at that time. He was so traumatized.
Can you please let's go back a little bit on the firing you mentioned. You said that firing was heard in the prison yard, and this was reported, by the prisoners and your colleagues. Can you tell us what was being fired?
They said they fire guns there.
Is it also correct that as a result of the firing of guns, the prisoners or the detainees actually believed that Ibrahim Chongan and his group, including Mama Cham and RSM Jang, were actually executed?
Yes, at that time they believe.
Can you also tell us if these events, the fact that they believed that their fellow detainees were executed, contributed to their state of mind and caused the trauma that you saw in Mr. Sise and Samsudin Sar and others?
That one, it has caused a lot of damage on them. In fact, these people, we can say Samsudin Sar and Kewa Sise were visible, but others whose silence, to me, are more, in fact, more traumatized than Samsudin and Kewasi, because this one physically you can see to them. But others who were, they kept silent. But there are two among them who are very strong. They don't even seek that. I can remember Pasal Jan and Kambi, something Kambi. I forgot I don't know whether Captain Kambi. They are so strong by looking at them. They don't even seek at that time.
Apart from the firing that was heard, are you aware of the fact that perhaps other prisoners, do you know whether other detainees also witnessed the torture that Ibrahim Chongan and co went through?
No, I don't know that, because where my office is located, I cannot know anything about confinement. Only to go there and dress them and come back and give them their medications.
Yes, you might not know, Mr. Witness, but I'm asking whether or not the other detainees informed you that they had witnessed these tortures.
No. No.
Apart from Samsudin Sar and also Keba Sise, did you counsel other prisoners because of their mental state of mind?
Generally, some of them I just sometimes jovially I just joke with them. Like I can remember there is another guy called, is it the nickname was, is it Hulu Hala? I don't know. Faraba Sabari, something like that. He became a mess boy there, cleaned their basins and so. So with those joke things, some of them were a little bit, I can say they are a little bit confidence there. But it's not comfort. We all know prison, that condition. You cannot comfort. But if you have something, you are with your people, you are with your teammates, at least you are a little bit comfort.
Mr. Witness, are you aware that you actually had a nickname in prison at that time?
At that time, some of them, they call me GV Pain. Yes, I can remember.
Yes, some witnesses here referred to you fondly as GV Paint.
Yes, that's true. They call me GV Pain, but I always tell them this GV Pain is a magic to you.
Can you tell us if these counseling services that you rendered to the detainees were part of your duties as a prison medic?
Well, this counseling skill is not part of my duties, but just to help me out so that my job can be easy. That's why I'm using those counseling skills. But I'm not trained as a counselor.
Just going back to Keba Sise and Samsudin Saad, would you consider as a medical officer that the traumatic events that they witnessed actually caused a mental?
Yes, at that time.
Can we just move on to what the general situation or environment was at the Mile 2 prisons at that time, witnessing some of the things that were going on, detainees being brought in by the military and having a military presence in the prisons. Can you tell us how you felt as a prison officer, as well as your colleagues?
At that time, I felt fear and threatening because these are armed men coming, bringing their own people. Next minute, those who are even part of the escort to bring certain detainees, next minute they join them. So we are armless. That gives us fear and threat because among themselves are detaining each other. This man will escort maybe Mr. Y. Next minute, he too is a detainee. So on that condition, especially myself, I have to advise myself to be very careful, to be mindful when dealing with them.
Did you talk about the situation in Mile 2 to anybody? Is that something that you discussed with anyone?
At that time, no. I'm there not to discuss that to anybody. I even mentioned, I say even my wife. As I said, they are bringing each other. And detainees are not our property, I can say. Just keep this, no visit, no hospital, they are restricted. So if I start saying to anyone, I don't know the person I'm talking to, whether it's intelligent or informer or whatsoever, I can join them and I don't want to join them.
Mr. Witness, if the detainees were not your property, would you consider that the prison officials had control over detainees?
No, what I mean, partially they are not our property fully, because convicts are property to prison by looking at it. Because they are already convicted, their sentence is computed, they are waiting to be released either by presidential pardon or at the end of their term of sentence. But for detainees, they only bring us, we are custodials. Despite if they are in our custody, we have to observe some of their rights as human beings. You know, we have to give them food, shelter, and the medical care. But as I said, we are not there to give them any visitation or either to give them certain rights. They are restricted for that because they always ask us keep them until we need them.
So who asked you to keep them until we need them?
Detaining them, I think the council. These are the word detainees are not convict, either remind, because they have never stepped to court. So we have to keep them.
So their rights and privileges were given to them by the council and not by the prison officials?
Yes, but some of the rights, even as I said, in terms of health, we have to consider that. And food, we have to consider that. And shelter too.
But as you said, they were not allowed to go to the hospital even when they needed it.
They restrict them to go to hospital, but doctors finally start coming to see them.
Okay, can you tell us if there was any incident in the prison when one of the prison officers was, sorry, let me just go back and rephrase the question. Can you just tell us if anything happened with one of the prisoners during this time?
As I said, detainees, if we are on duties, we call it officer in charge, the sergeant on duties also. Normally, in prison procedure, if you brought somebody with a condition of either being injured or whatsoever, we normally request medical papers for normal procedure. But for this one, ask them any medical paper. Because one of our colleagues was nearly a victim for that. They brought an inmate and a detainee with a condition that he don't understand. He requests for medical paper. They say why he asked for medical paper. So they say this one is trying to bounce the executive order here and there. So the guy nearly be detained. Then finally he quit the job. That's how it be. So this is why nobody is there to question them.
Can you also tell us whether anything happened at one time with one of your colleagues, a prison officer? Did anything happen to him?
He was on duties. I think there was one time they brought Lantom Montamba while he was on duties. He saw him on a condition that he don't understand. He asked for medical paper. They say why he asked for medical paper. So he nearly got detained. That's why he quit the job. I think the officer name was Lamin Sise, something. He was a sergeant.
The night that Sana Sabali and co came to the prisons, did anything happen?
Which night?
This was the night before the torture of Ibrahim Chongan and his and Mama Cham and RSM Jeng.
You know, I normally work on permanent morning. I don't know the night activities at all.
Can you please tell us whether anything happened to one of your colleagues by the name of Jabate?
Yes, Jobate was, he was a PO, we call it PO, like a sub-inspector. In those days, a bit high rank. He was on a locking up duties. As we call locking up duties, after night shift took over their duties, then he will do the final lockup, as we call it. The key, all the keys will be in a safe, and there will be an emergency key, which is the seal. So he, as a locking up officer, will go with the rest of the key. That will, and nobody will have access to prison except him. On emergency situations, they can take the emergency key, which is sealed, but if you unseal it, you have to book it the reason why you unseal the key. So I can remember they say Sana Sabali came for inspection at night. But at that time, he was having our duty roster. He knows Jobate was on the locking up, he was a locking up officer. So he asked for him, but nowhere to be seen. Jobate was nowhere to be found. So he called our RSM, late Keba Bojang, and ordered him that anytime this man report on duty the following day, make sure he detain him. All of a sudden, as I was reporting the following morning, Jobate was in my front. I was following him. So I saw the RSM stand with his stick. He complimented Jobate. After a few steps, he asked him to stop. He called him, sorry, sir, I need your rank. Jobate complied. He don't utter any word to him. He removed his ranks and then his headgears like the cap. He pointed his stick to the confinement gate. From there, I say, what is going on? Somebody report on duty, you strip him and then put him to confinement. From there, I went to infirmary. I hold my head like this, whether next will be me or not. So I start thinking, what is going on? From there, I understand that Sana came for inspection, he don't meet him on ground, he ordered RSM to detain him. This is how it happened. I don't know whether he spent some weeks or what, but later he has been released. But Sana came to confirm whether he's been detained or not, which he told RSM, yes, you have taken my orders.
Is it normal to have inspection at night?
As I said, they are detainees. Maybe he come to inspect them.
Is it normal, Mr. Witness, to have military personnel come to inspect the prisons, which is not under their custody, as you said?
It is not normal, because as I said, in a normal way, Jobate was at that time was the director, because nobody should have access without him. So it is not normal for military officer to come for inspection in our prison.
Can you tell us why he was allowed to inspect the prison in that case, if that wasn't normal?
At that moment, at that time, we all know Sana was, I think he was the vice chairman. So I don't think no prison officer should stop him at that time. Nobody. If you try, you will know what to face. So nobody is there to tell him no. Anytime he come, they have to open for him. We are not armed. And he's there with his armed men surrounding him. Come, let them allow him to do what he wants to do and then go.
So you're saying that the prison did not have the capacity, basically, to restrict his access to the prison?
Yes, because as I said, as a vice chairman, I don't know. With all his guards, soldiers following him, at that time, those who know Sana, I don't know how to describe him, but nobody is there. Even soldiers themselves fear him. They fear him. Much more our guides to say no to him. We have seen an example. He detained a senior officer. What of you being a junior officer? What are you going to face?
Can you tell us whether after Jabate was detained and released, did he actually meet Sana Savali at any other point?
Yes, when Jabate was released, Sana too was detained, and Jabate went there to inspect him.
When was this?
I cannot remember the date, but I can remember the time was in the morning time. I was with him there when he was trying to go. He too went to inspect, to round this in the morning. He went round. He went up to the cell, but he didn't talk to Sana. He only said he said and then talked.
You know what Sana Savali had been detained there for at that point?
Sana too was detained. I think this was in 1996. He was detained with late Sadibu Haidara.
Do you know what their detention was in connection to?
No.
You've said that you treated the 1994 detainees after the coup. After you treated them, did any other incident occur which led you to treat other detainees at Mile 2 prison?
Yes, I can remember even Sana himself. I treated him together with Sadibu Haidara. I treated them.
Can you tell us for what injuries you treated them?
It too, I found multiple injuries and bruises on his body.
Did they tell you how they sustained those injuries?
At some point, I can remember, let me start with this. Their first detention, when they brought them, I was called. They were taken to number 1 confinement. So I was called that Sadibu said he is a known hypertensive, like he has a blood pressure. So I went there, I asked Sadibu. Sadibu said yes, he has a blood pressure, but I said, do you know your drugs, the drugs you normally take? So I noted down, and I took my blood pressure machine and then confirmed, but at that time it was high. Likewise, Sanatu told me he has a slight headache when they came newly. So one of our guards was even telling me, hey, go, don't listen to this man. When he passed here, it's just like, I don't know, God is going. So I said to him, no. You are a prison officer. Do you know what will happen to you before the end of the day? So let's do our duties. It doesn't concern me. Even if I want to kill me or you want to lock me here, if I have chance of treating him, I'll take care of him. Because he's a human being at first. So I say, forget about that. Then I listened to him. I took his complaint. I went to infirmary, my office, where I planned some painkillers for him. So for Sadibu, I report the matter to my immediate supervisor, Mr. Manga, that Sadibu came with this condition.
Do you know any other detainees that came with them?
No.
Can you remember seeing Captain Barrow at that time?
No.
Did you see or treat Captain Barrow at any other time in Mile 2?
No.
Were you informed that at some point Captain Barrow was in Mile 2?
This too was a story narrated by one Aliuba. You know, you remember those carton attackers. He was terribly sick. Then Ali was admitted at infirmary. We keep him at infirmary because he don't have access to hospital at that time. So Ali, if you see what he pulled out, if he vomit, it's dark like this beret. So as he admitted there, more than even some of our officers will tell me today he's going to die. But with the help of God and help of hospital, Mr. Manga and others, doctors start coming to attend to him, different doctors. You have medical doctors, like one Dr. Ja, and then you have Dr. Sala. This is an audiologist doctor because he here too has a problem. And even surgeons, they come and see him. About Ali was more than 4 to 5 months. When he recovered, he started narrating his stories to us. That the reason why he was among the carton attackers, because he said he was a soldier who was one time escaped from an execution ground. I said, what are you saying? He said at Fajara Barracks, something like that. He said to me, you see me, I'm a lucky man. I would have been dead by now. He said, we were brought here by Barrow at Remind Week. Well, he was explaining his story. He said, I told him, but Ali, I tell you, stop this thing. He said, no, I have to tell you my story because I would have died. He said, I even mentioned this at the court when they were trying him. So he said to me, well, we were brought here, later we were taken away together with Barrow. Then Barrow was even some of his tooth, he lost his tooth. He said because of the gunbutt that they hit him.
Can you tell us, according to the information you had, how these injuries were sustained?
Which injury?
You mentioned Barrow's injuries, the fact that he was toothless, as well as Aliuba's injuries. Can you tell us how they were sustained?
Aliuba was just explaining the story to me when he recovered to our infirmary, because he was sick. Like if you see him, you say either today he will die or the next minute. So when he recovered, he started explaining his story. This narration came there. But I don't see them at that time when they were brought at Remind together with Barrow. I don't see them.
Were his injuries consistent with what he explained happened to him?
Ali was, when he came first, he was kept at confinement. So as I used to go there frequently to see them, one day they said he started vomiting blood. But the bloods are like, they come in a clot way. It thick like this cup. So that's how I explained to Dauda Manga that it's better we keep Aliu in infirmary here. So when Manga saw his condition, he went for a doctor's at RVTH, where they responded. So after he recovered from us, he started explaining his story, his own personal story to us.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Mr. Commissioner, I believe this is a good place to stop to allow for questions from the commissioners before we go on break.
Thank you very much, Emma Council. Janjambore Commissioner Jatta, thank you very much for your testimony. The situation you described in the prison sounded that the operation relating to detainees was a separate arrangement within the prison. And you sounded as if that prison officers, therefore, did not have any responsibility. You used some of the term, they weren't our property, but I believe you meant they weren't your responsibility. Can you tell me if the responsibility or the arrangements that you have for the prisoners, for the detainees, was limited only to food, health, which you were responsible for, and certain custodial procedures, opening gates and locking them here and there? Or were there other things that, prison officers were responsible for?
Thank you very much, Chairman. As I said, detainees are not directly to us. We are custodians. And the word detainees, to me, sometimes they will tell us we are investigating, so they should not have access to any of their families or friends or colleagues. It's unlike the convict or even remand who are tried at the court. Like remand, we give them visit, they have access to their lawyers. But for detainees, they have no access. We should not give them any access to lawyers or any of the immediate family members or friends or colleagues. This is why our responsibility is limited to that area.
You did not of a detainee by a prison officer, did you?
No, I have never witnessed that.
Thank you very much. One of our commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Kinte, please.
Commissioner Kinte, you were mentioning Barrow. I wonder, I'm a bit confused about the linkage and the stories here. I believe November 11 came before the Khartoum attack, and you were narrating Aliu's condition on the Khartoum attack because he escaped execution during November 11. And what we understood here was that Barrow was executed on November 11, and now you are narrating Aliu's issue with Barrow. If it was a narration, can you please shed light on how he knew Barrow was he first taken to Mile 2 before being taken back for execution or otherwise?
On his narration, he said he was taken to Mile 2 before to the execution ground.
Thank you, Imam Jallo.
Mr. Witness, Commissioner Imam Usainu Jallo, did you receive any formal training as a paramedic before you started your job?
No, I don't start any formal training on medical, but I started on recruitment, normal recruitment in prison. We trained for 6 months. Then in 1988, from there I was, when we passed out, as we call it, I was taken to the yard duties to experience, because as prison officer you should be able to experience the yard duties first. So later I was attacked to the medical unit called infirmary.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr.
Commissioner Carr, I have a question. How often did you come across dead inmates in the prison?
Dead inmates like convicts or any of the prisons?
Any of them, either convicts or inmates. Okay.
Normally, when a prisoner died, the prisoner, the body belongs to state. What we normally do is the procedure to take them to hospital pathology for autopsy to be carried out to know the cause of death.
Thank you very much. If there are no further, yes, Commissioner Samba.
Mr. Giotto, I'm trying to I wanted to know whether during this medical treatment has been given, there is nobody who is trained as a medical personnel.
There is nobody who is?
Nobody who is trained from a school, like School of Nursing or School of Community Health Nurse or School of SRN.
Yes, that's true. Among them, there was nobody who go to SRN or SEN.
So like you are just blindly treating the individual?
I was attached at the polyclinic at VTH, where I was trained there as a nurse to give some first aid treatment, as I said, dressing, and then how to read somebody blood pressure, and some vital signs like when somebody is, how to call it? How do I put this way? When somebody feel like he's dizzy or general body pain and the like, we apply those analgesic. My limit is to give them painkillers. Above me is my immediate supervisor, Mr. Manga, who handle all.
Is that Mr. Manga a trained nurse?
Yes, that Mr. Manga is a dresser dispenser in those days.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, we will take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon. Meeting is adjourned.